Greg, welcome to your debut exhibition in Newcastle. It's been quite an experience for you. You've discovered parts of Newcastle that perhaps we all take for granted. Tell us a little bit about where you've been and what you've discovered and the journey you've had in preparing this exhibition.
Well, it's been a marvellous experience with discovering a place new that I've known so well, and I started out with the objective of looking for subjects that maybe haven't been painted before, and looking for the general environment around us, street scenes, and looking at them, trying to see, painting them with fresh eyes.
And you went to some different suburbs. Tell us where you went.
Yes, I went over to looking at Carrington, and I went and up in the hill, down around the beaches. And the thing it very quickly amazed me that Newcastle is such a unique city, that all these areas are so close together, the harbour and the beaches and the city, and the charm of the city, that retained all this lovely historic architecture, and it's a real village atmosphere. It's sort of a living place. It's the leafy streets, and it's the layout of the street, and with the hills, and it's the lie of the land. It's just a unique place. And you go up to the hill and looking for subjects, and there'd be a lovely, charming house, and then be the ocean behind it. So you're on top of a hill looking up at this house, but then you see and just these aspects of it's really stunning. And you look at it as a composition, as a painting, and but painting for the exhibition's been, the weather hasn't been that helpful.
Right.
So I had to work out ways around how I was going to approach it in the time frame, and it's just been a bit. Just seeing, getting to know Newcastle in another way, it's and looking at it for painting, it's just been a revelation. Seeing a place you know so well over the years, that you see it, appreciate it totally in a new light. It's probably one of the most enjoyable painting experiences I had. I painted Sydney Harbour, and I painted overseas, but I haven't actually painted Newcastle before. I painted Central Coast and Sydney, and out in the rural areas and the inland, but and up and down the coast. But it certainly won't be the last time. I'm just getting my bearings now, and really for the future I'll be finding some great subject matter in expanding on what I've seen. Go and paint more of the other areas up in the hill and Bar Beach, and looking down over Merriweather. I'd like to do another quite a few more paintings, just looking down, looking out over Bar Beach and Merriweather, and
Greg, when you prepare an exhibition and you're researching subject and content, sometimes some really good opportunities come about, and I believe these two paintings are a part of that experience of reference. Tell us about what happened to you when you were visiting.
Yes, I was one afternoon. I was over at Carrington looking for reference, and it was too windy to paint, so I went looking for locations. And I've been up here all day. And it's about 5:30 in the afternoon, and I was just taking some photographs of a old pub and doing some sketches. And a car pulls up, and a guy says, "Would you like to come out on a tug this afternoon and take some photographs out on the harbour?" And I just thought, fantastic, so I didn't need asking twice. So I spent the next 3 hours with a beautiful afternoon with setting sun, lovely puffy white clouds in the sky, the most perfect conditions, and experienced them taking a tug out, taking a tanker out past Nobbies, and bringing another tanker in, and it's got some fantastic reference subject matter for painting, which is a big part of the exhibition. And
there's a beautiful light. It looks like there's been a storm at the end of the day and whatever. And describe the light and what appealed to you in the compositions.
It was one of those beautiful golden light afternoons. It was just, the water was calm and there wasn't a lot of wind out there in the water. It was one of those magic moments. I realised it was one of those special moments, that I was in one of those special moments of being out on the water. It's not every day you get invited out on a tug, but seeing the land from a different aspect rather than being on the foreshore looking for subjects. Had this 360-degree view of this beautiful afternoon and seeing Newcastle and the boats, and you see an aspect of Newcastle that you don't see actually from the foreshore. And
Greg, these smaller works here are great examples of you carrying out the traditional form of paintings, the plein air painting, where you capture a moment or a light. Are you following the traditional element there of painting, or why is it that you work in a smaller format, and what's that sequence of that process that you can tell us as to the way you use the smaller format painting?
Okay, yeah, I've always, for my exhibitions, I always have a series of, or a collection of smaller paintings, and I got in the habit of painting small studies, especially when I'm travelling, or to get just very quickly in half an hour, you can capture the essence and the light and the sense of being in that place. So when you go back to the studio, you can do a larger painting from the smaller painting, because you get in the time frame, the weather might be bad, or people it might be conducive to spending a lot of time on this, but I tend to like to get just a little thumbnail study, either postcard size or this size, and in half an hour I can get the essence of the painting, and that keeps the sense of light and colour and atmosphere for when I do a bigger painting back in the studio from the smaller painting.
I'm surprised the detail and the content and the energy you capture in these works. There's so much there in that, well, they're more than sketches, they're smaller works showing quite explicit detail, but certainly the mood and the feeling is there. I can see why you can work back into the studio and see a larger version. The ones that are on the wall are totally different. You're obviously interested in the architecture in this case.
Yes, in those two examples, the approach I had with those is to try to simplify the subject, look for subjects where I can simplify it down to basic shapes, and just capture like almost a simple design, but it's still a representational painting. And I've got the light, and
you were talking about these ones breaking away from the more traditional content into a more minimalist, simplified version. Is this a direction you want to go in the future?
That's what I'm aiming to, still stay representational, but to simplify the painting down to just simple shapes and essence of the, just to capture the light and just to keep it as simple as possible. And I'm finding that with even the larger paintings that got more, a lot more detail, more, how should I say, more complex composition, but to the handling of the painting, if not be so academic, simplify it down to more, as in some of the works, more painterly, simplified approach, which is basically how I'm reflecting my own attitude to life, is trying to simplify my life.